Don't be nervous, there's a major crowd here.
Right.
Yeah.
How's everybody? Not dying?
I'm cute and fluffy.
Good. Good and pleasant. Okay, so who all here knows what a fursuit handler is? Sweet. Who does not? Sweet. All right, so what comes to mind when you think of a fursuit handler? Anybody want to go? Just sprout it out.
They are your eyes and ears when you cannot see and hear.
Yes.
Because you've got this thing on.
Yes.
This
That's
lovely.
very
So you
poetic.
don't accidentally trip over small children.
Right.
Or you just crush them.
Or
Yeah.
walk in front of a moving vehicle.
Yeah. Be like, oh, there's some roadkill. Oh.
They
that
also
is-
help explain things when people ask, what the fuck is this shit?
Pretty much.
They also like help carry water and stuff.
Yeah. Be a pack mule.
And for some of us who have wings, our
Oh, that-
handlers also take care of our phones and wallets, which is much appreciated.
Yeah, that's
got you.
kind of hard.
Backpack ride. Anybody else have anything? No? Alright, so basically you summed it up pretty awesomely. So basically, it depends from person to person. For me, a handler is like crowd control, especially if you are a suitor who maybe doesn't talk, or you just bounce around and stuff, have a different character going on. So crowd control, also, again, water, just checking in, making sure that your charge is not dying on the inside, even if, because again, once you're doing something like you're putting on a character, even you're just walking around having a good time, you lose track of time
Not
very
mentioning the
easily.
adrenaline feeds you, and you may
Yes.
not know you're about to pass out and have medical emergency.
Yes.
Even if your handler can recognize it, like, dude, you need to stop, take a water break,
Mhm.
calm down.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a main thing for handlers. Also, maybe like if you're going out, like not as much for like a gathering or something, because there's usually a lot of people that like know what to look for, but like any YouTube video where you see like fursuiting at the park and there's like one or two suitors and like maybe a camera person, there's a lot of tails that get pulled. So mostly, again, it's just whatever you really think might be good. So like carrying your stuff around with you, maybe just checking in, saying, hey, how you feeling? You guys have anything to add?
Yeah, very circumstantial, basically. Kind of like what you were saying, where it depends from person to person, and kind of like what I said earlier about mentioning my wings. For her Sequana, she has a pretty free fursuit with her partial. For me with Calun, my wings are my wings are my arms basically, instead of having them on my back. So when it comes to my suiting, in this case, it's always been you who's been there for me. It's very handy and it's very important because the rods in the wings, for example, they get really heavy and you can dehydrate pretty easily because, kind of like what you said, where you need someone to really pay attention to you and your specific needs. And so maybe if you have wings or if you have like a certain type of shoes, like some suits have the hoof feet, that might change the way you walk. You had mentioned to me earlier about Nori's fursuit has really big feet.
Yeah, so for Nori's feet, my foot fits into one toe. So the other 3 toes are about my foot length. So I walk around like this all the time when I'm in her. So you can kick some small children. And you kind of don't want to do that unless you're like,
It's all fun and games until you all get stomped.
yes. Yeah, you have anything to add?
No.
No. All right.
Not just right off the bat.
Sounds good. So
You're
yeah,
pretty much covering
the
everything.
main thing I want to hit first for fursuit handlers, going back to checking in with your suitor, first aid. So usually you would have a couple water bottles. Maybe you would have like a little portable fan. They have those little portable fans, or like those little neck fans, or godsend. Yes. Yes. And just keeping track of the time. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm gonna go out, it's like 1 o'clock, and you're gonna goof off or whatever, and then suddenly it's 4 in the afternoon, and the sun's beating down on you, then you take off your head and you get dizzy, you're like, oh my God. And that's a good thing for a handler to do, is just keep track of time. Maybe like tap them on the shoulder, your fursuiter, like every 20 minutes or so, just like, hey, check yourself, see how you're feeling. Maybe they're starting to get like sweat in their eyes. They might need to wipe off their face. You never know. So again, just check in. And then also some people may get claustrophobic in heads. And like, again, putting on that character, your head does go into a different space. You might not realize it until you're like, oh my God, and then it just gets into you. So just making sure, checking in is a really important thing to do. Bring waters, a lot of waters. The little portable water bottles, foam heads, you can usually stuff them in the mouth. Resin heads, not as easily, like have a little, like a long straw or something. Yeah, I like that. And also, like cooling devices, like Calun, he has an ice vest. Advertise it. So this keeps them pretty cool for a good portion of the day. They're pretty expensive, but my personal experience, they are worth it if you want to spend the money. Yes?
What's pretty expensive?
The cooling vests. These ones usually run about $150 or so. Easy Cool Down is the brand that he got his from. There's other brands out there if you just search like cooling vest or performance vest. They're not just for fursuiters, they're for like actors, theater performance, that kind of thing too.
And to give a little sort of perspective of how it is, you don't even need a freezer to freeze these. The inserts, they're all separate. So basically you have basically two inserts on the front and the back, and you would buy them. They have different ones. They have like cells, right?
Yeah.
So you have some that are bigger but fewer cells, and the smaller ones melt quicker, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
they say they give you more movement, but we use 4 cells and you can bend your body in absurd ways anyway, so.
And a little extra perspective is, we suited up pretty much when we got here around, noonish?
Mm-hmm.
Most of this is kind of liquidy now, but it really holds its, the level of cold that it keeps. And I'd mentioned earlier that you don't really need an actual freezer to freeze them. I've actually kept these when I'm not suiting or needing them in any way in my refrigerator, nothing particularly powerful or special, but they stay really, really solid and really frozen. And even right now, with them being basically squishy, they're still keeping me pretty cool. So the relief from heat that it provides lasts for a very long time.
How much does it weigh?
It's not that heavy, actually. In fact, I would say, I couldn't give you like an exact example just because off the top of my head I don't know, but probably no more than, like say a leather vest, taking into account the inserts. The material itself is just like a nylon kind of mesh, basically. So it's really lightweight without the inserts, and with them, it's still not that much heavier than like a leather vest or something.
And then also, there's other cooling options too. Like some people have like a backpack or something similar to an ice vest. They just put some water in there like a camelback. Sometimes they use that for cooling. Also fans again. Sequana has a fan in the muzzle. Some tuning suits do have fans in the muzzle, some don't. It's just, you do?
They are the greatest thing for fursuiting. If you're getting a fursuit, ask your maker, do you have fans there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it just, even if you're just walking around, just the airflow helps.
When I'm outside and it's 98 degrees out, when my battery dies, I'm done.
Yeah, you're just not doing that. And also like portable fans, like what he has and what he has too. Barely anything that can keep you cool, and also just if you feel a breeze, this is the best feeling in the world. So basically, again, just seeing if your suitor has some kind of cooling. If not, keep an eye on them a bit more. Just because, again, you can't see their face, you can't see like if they're like going to heat exhaustion or anything, but usually like their movements. If they start to move sporadically or like they turn around a lot and it's not in character, tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, you all right? Usually they should be able to talk to you, like even if it's just a whisper or anything. If they aren't a suitor that particularly talks, and then just keep track and just make sure they're okay.
And actually, on that topic, another thing is that they don't necessarily need it. Another big example is, I've been in the fandom for a long, long time, and only within the last couple of years have I gotten into fursuiting, and she's basically saved my life in a lot of ways. I have my own fan at home that I've not inserted yet, and so a lot of times she'll have her fan ready. So as a handler, half of it, like she said, exactly. part of it is making sure that they're going to be prepared for the suiting experience. But if they aren't, and you have the ability to, like for example, like she mentioned these fans, it would be really easy to, as a non-suitor, to have one just hanging around your neck, or another one like one of those little fan spray bottles.
Yeah.
Those would also be really good to have and are easy for you to carry out of suit for your suitor.
And just really anything like for Nori when I wear, she's my like large toonie, super energetic suit, but I made like little water bottle holsters for her. So I can fit like a water bottle in there, and then I can just be like tap it, and somebody will unscrew it for me, and I can just shove it in my mouth and guzzle it down. So like if you like as a handler have that, that's awesome. Or if your suitor has like a little water bottle thing, or even a camelback, that's awesome too. Just really anything to keep their body cool, because that's the main risk. Obviously, you're wearing a carpet, and just wanting to make sure that you don't overheat. And just moving around does help, even though you do build up heat moving around. Any breeze is better than no breeze. And then just, again, depending on the person to person. So like if somebody, he sweats a lot, I do not.
Oh yeah.
You have an easier time cooling down when he's in suit than I do, because you have the perspiration and I do not. Like I'm not sweating right now and my arms are feeling very hot. So it's just, like, might be a weird question, but like if they like mention like, hey, I heat up pretty easily, or like, hey, I can cool off pretty quick, then that helps too. Just knowing you're basically like, they're like therapist and they're like nurse and everything basically.
Well, and kind of on the flip side of that too, is that even though you'll be cooler with the, if you sweat more, because it lets you get that swamp effect, you'll also be dehydrating more. So that's another thing as a handler to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the main thing, first aid, making sure they aren't dying. Anyone have any comments, questions, or anything about that? No? No? Alrighty. So another thing for fursuit handlers is crowd control. Usually, like at a, microphone's doing really good right now. Usually, like in a convention space, like here, people usually know what to look for. So like, if there's like a bunch of kids crowding around you, maybe somebody might like worm their way in and like shove them off to the side. Fursuiting in public, like at a Renaissance festival, at like any kind of like fair where it's not common to wear a fursuit, like kids are like, oh my god. And then there's like some adults that are kind of off. They're like, oh, wow, how magic? And then they like totally get into it, which is awesome. But then you get the kids that start pulling on tails, stepping on your feet, trying to clamber onto your lap, especially if they're like digigrade legs, they start to clamber onto your lap, tugging at your ears. Sometimes you can't see them behind you, like you turn around and then suddenly there's a child down there and you just beat them in the face with your tail. So crowd control is a really important thing for a handler to do. And going back to YouTube, a lot of like fursuiting in the park videos, there's this one video in particular, there was like 7 kids around like these 3 fursuiters.
I saw that one. I felt so bad for them.
Yes.
Like, where is the handle? Why does the guy...
I know, the person with the camera
down,
should do that. But yeah, the kids were like tugging on the tails, they were not having it, the suitors were not having a blast. The kids, I'm sure, were having fun, like destroying this giant fox. But there's a person under there, remember that.
Okay, I understand you want to get video, but if you've got 7 kids attacking these suitors, big me. Put the camera down. It's more important to make sure the suit survives than to get the awesome video.
Yeah, and like some suits are very expensive, and some people don't know how to fix their suits at home, so they have to ship it off to someone who does, and that's also expensive. So yeah, crowd control, just making sure people are aware of the suitor's area, like also answering questions, like if the suitor like is asked a question, they don't talk, or that's not in character for them to answer, then you could be the one to like step up. So you kind of, I know it's scary to talk to people, but you just kind of have to like put yourself out there for the sake of the performer, basically. So like if somebody asks like, oh, can I give you a hug? And then like usually, yes. Or like if it's like, so what is all this about? Then you gotta step up and like explain like in your own words what's going on and like why they're there, that kind of thing. You have anything to add on crowd control?
Not really. I guess kind of like you said, just making sure that you know what you're going out there for, wherever you're going, and knowing how to kind of make sure that they're protected and getting across what you're doing to whoever might be asking.
Also, another thing to think of just off the bat, check laws, because some places do not allow masks in public spaces. So I just ask ahead of time.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
like if you don't know, and like somebody comes up to you and says like, oh, you can't do that, like comply. Take your head off, even if it scars kids, because I'd rather not be booked off to jail.
You tell all odds we're going into a business, Walmart.
Yeah, just call ahead of time. Yeah, well,
We're going to like go fursuiting around the mall or any public business. Find out who's in charge. Get a hold of them, out of suit.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I got some friends, got this thing going on.
Yeah, and also helps to like meet up
There's,
with them
like,
ahead of time too. Be like, hey,
Come out
we're normal. We're
Come
fine.
out one costume, give out free hugs, make a few people smile.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
bring some business info because people will see us in them and be like, what the F? I want to see what this is all about.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, it actually kind of is, it could be a benefit to you, especially if you like the concept of using your character for something else. I couldn't give you an example off the top of my head, really, like by name, but there are instances where maybe, you know, like a bat sanctuary would love to have, you know, a bat fursuiter out there. Maybe the wolf sanctuary in any number of states.
A dragon sanctuary.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of fursuiters get involved in like the various different charity walks and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, hand up.
Crowd control, also watch out for the troublemakers. I've handled a few furs and there's always a skinhead or somebody who thinks it's cool to come up and try and rip some fursuiter's head off or yank their tail or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, just, you can slug them in the face eventually if you want to. If they get on your nerves, it's fine.
Yeah, I've encountered a few, but then they see this older woman and they kind of back off.
Yeah. Or be like on stilts or something. Be like, yes, beat it.
You got the height advantage. Get out of
I was
here.
actually going to say, I had a friend within furry friend circle actually got a bunch of fursuiters together to do this thing at a children's hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen that before too.
It
It's
was
really
actually,
awesome.
yeah, working with the hospital, and they actually worked there, so they thought it was a great idea to try and pitch that. Their boss loved it, so they're like, okay, let me go and get all my friends to go show up and give the kids a blast.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that's, you know, like you said, being a handler, you're kind of like, in a way, you're almost like the suitor's agent,
Yeah.
and that can be used for more than just protecting your suitor. You know, it can lead you guys, you know, both of you or however many, to something
There's
much
an
more
idea.
interesting.
Handler uniforms, like the glasses, like
Yes.
a Bluetooth speaker or something. You're jamming out to music.
With a theme, get little fox ears if you're a fox. And,
Yes. Idea. Okay, anyone have any questions, comments, or anything on crowd control? Nada? Yes.
I think it might be fortunate to demonstrate the range of vision.
Yeah, we'll get into that when you go like towards the end about other considerations, just like floor draggers and wings and all the things. It's fun. But yeah, we'll get into that, yeah. Anybody else? Nope. Alrighty. Another thing is navigation.
Oh,
Going into
gosh.
vision. Who can see below right here when they're wearing a fursuit? Not very many.
I cannot see below this beneath my bottom jaw.
Yeah.
That's a small child though. It's like I might accidentally touch it.
Well, it might not be too sad. So like Sequana, I have horrible vision. I can see in front of me about this rectangle. Yeah, this is a rectangle. But also if I open my mouth, I can see more, so I just like lift up the nose and look down. Calun, he cannot do that. So his vision is like completely shot like here down, which is fun. So yeah, just also depending on the style of the suit. Like most resin, realistic suits, they have the tear duct vision. So that's a lot more limited. You do have pretty good vision directly in front of you, which is very helpful. But a bit easy to see below if your head inside your head is back enough so you can actually see. And then like toonie heads, it just depends on the style, the maker, that kind of thing. So just talk about that, maybe put the head on if they let you, and just see what their vision is like. and then go from there. Like Calun, you can't see squat in front of you.
No, and that is just kind of scout it out so you know what to expect. Some places might have a lot of tree roots or something, and you'll definitely want to watch out for those.
And like sprinkler systems that are still up and not. Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, anyone have any questions about navigation? Comments? Maybe your experiences not being able to navigate for squat? Yes.
What about glasses and such?
Glasses depends on.
Like these?
Yeah.
Commissioning suit, ask a maker if they have room in the head for glasses.
Mhm.
I've always often like kind of know about glasses because they only do, but they may not look so well.
And then that brings another thing too. Some makers can't, or like resin, it's harder for a maker to have you be able to wear glasses. So like if you don't have
This is
contacts.
actually
kind of-
better.
Oh, nice, cool. But yeah, so it just depends on the person. So like if they, or like with me, one eye works, one eye does not. I have a contact in this eye. If I get fur in there, I have to take my contact out. Then I can only see this way. So it just depends. Like again, talking to your suitor, just making sure that they're okay, and just seeing like, going like, what's your vision range, and then can you see in that range? So basically, just again asking questions beforehand, and just go from there. Yes.
Do you know, as far as for folks with hearing aids,
Mhm.
do the headpieces affect a lot of that as far as, I don't know if it's more of a repercussion type thing or if you just lose your ability to hear?
Again, depends on the maker. And most suits, it does block your hearing a little bit, but not to the point where like you couldn't hear someone like yell, "Hey!" So you can still hear that. Just depends on like how the head is made too for the fursuiter. So like if they have like a bucket head, that's foam enclosing the entire thing. It might block your hearing a bit more. Resin usually stops right about here, so it's for the rest of the way. Just depends on how the suit's made and that kind of thing, basically. So,
Thank you.
anything to add? Nope. All right.
You have a question?
I was going to say one thing that I did with the handler once was kind of get an idea of where their field of vision was to actually stand in front of them and then move to the side and let them tell me, okay, right there is where I no longer can see you. Do that the other way. So you kind of visually know what is their field of vision versus them trying to describe it for you.
Right, yeah.
Or like doing like the hand thing too.
Yeah.
You're like, this is my vision, or like yours would be, this is my vision, but this is not my vision. So yeah, just again, talking. Communication is important. Please do it.
Honestly, it's probably the most important thing like to say.
But that's all we need. We're done here. Talk to people. So yeah, going kind of with navigation is environments. So like if you're in a park, tree roots, posts, like walkways, some of them have like those really dumb, like low, stupid fences that are useless.
Animal waste that people haven't picked up.
Yes. Like gooses and geeses and goosen and other animals but geese. Like if it's at a mall or something, slick floors, depending on the material of the suitor's feet, they might slide. Or if they just have shoes on like I do, they're okay.
Or like I'd mentioned earlier, the footwear thing. A lot of people have like the, for cloven hoofs, for example, it's easy to make them like onto normal shoes, but some people like those high heels that are designed that way. So if for any reason you have restricting footwear in another way where it, like, for example, makes you teeter a little bit, watch for stairs, watch for the slick surfaces you mentioned.
And also like if it's like in a dirt area, usually quite a few potholes or just rocks. Rocks are not a fun thing to deal with. And also again like hills, sometimes even the grass type messes with you. Like if it's thicker grass, usually that's okay, but if it's like slick grass or it's like recently been watered and it's all sliding down the hill because they overwater, it's just the same as walking on linoleum.
And another thing to mention is hazards to the suitor that they might not be aware of. We went camping in Joshua Tree when I first got my suit, and it was beautiful out there, made for great photos. There were a lot of burrs and other kind of prickly little things that broke off of the plants.
Spent about 4 hours after we got back just
Yeah.
brushing out our suits.
That was not fun. And I mean,
But,
you know,
well, epically awesome room, but
and you know, at the time that was on me because we were both suiting. So basically, we were trying to be each other's handlers while in suit.
raise me up.
And my bat suit has a 12 foot wingspan when fully extended, so it's really easy to catch things. So yeah,
Maneuvering
big
around
one-
the brush.
yeah, big
Bush
one is
hopping.
definitely keep an eye out for like actual environmental factors that might not be spotted by the suitor.
Yeah, yeah. And again, they can't, most of them can't see below them. They aren't thinking about what's directly in front of their feet. They're like looking up and like, oh dang, there is a person over there, let's go bug them. So again, just keep tracking, like maybe glance over them every once in a while, like say, hey, scooch over that way, there's a hole right there. So again, communication, talk to them.
Your safety and your suit will be more important than, well, basically not. If you're a little nervous about telling your suitor to scooch just a little bit,
Maybe
don't
work
worry.
on that a little bit. Yeah, like, yes, you can be nervous. It is very nerve-wracking talking to strangers. I'm very nervous right now.
Or
Just-
even strangers.
Yeah.
If you see a fursuiter that might be at risk and they don't have a handler,
Mhm.
or their handler doesn't see something, it's totally okay to let them know. Obviously,
Button.
be nice about it, but
Yeah. Don't like elbow or something.
if they're gonna walk into a pond, let them know.
Yeah, don't just like go up and
Don't be
just,
like, what was
smack
that?
them.
Like,
Hey, yeah,
I
there's
think
pond
was
right there.
There was like a vine or something where this one guy was like on his phone and then he fell into the pond. Or maybe it was a lady. I'm sure it's happened.
One or the other.
Right. So yeah, and then also like elevators.
Oh, good God.
Make sure you have enough room for your suitor and yourself. Both of you need to go together. It's a very tight space, especially if you have like a tail that's like straight out, or wings, or very large ears. That can pose a problem because you kind of have to either like smash yourself up against a wall, or have like you as the handler might like have to hold onto their tail or something to make sure it doesn't get caught in anything as it's going up. You know, like those videos where like people just leave and then they like their leash for their dog goes. Don't do that.
Yeah. Same thing with the like the really big tails. That basically it's like almost like a pillow. Especially watch out for those ones on elevators because I've seen a few just a little while ago. A lot of them are getting caught and some of them are tearing.
And again,
But
very
mostly
expensive.
of the problem was mainly all the fur that got caught in the one little piece of the elevator. It gets yanked and all that section of that tail is basically just now either like
And a bald spot.
kind of like a bald spot.
But yeah, so environments. Also like crossing the street. Most streets have like a little lift thing and an up thing. Some of them have like those weird little bumps on them. Make sure that your suitor either like normally walks up like this, or like how they walk, they might drag their feet. Tell them that there are bumps in the road. And also, again, going with like if there's a car turning and they don't see, or like they're staring at the suitor and they're just going on their merry way, pull them back, pull your suitor back until they turn. That's just a normal thing. You wouldn't want somebody in front of you to get crushed by a car. No, would you? Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, so anything else to add for environments? And we also talked about stairs. Watch stairs. Stairs are great.
Yes, you
any-
have really big
Oh.
feet.
Escalate.
Escalators.
Let's not, talk about like Anthrocron's Fursuit Parade, you know? What was it, 2 years ago, I think it was? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, where their Fursuit Parade went up the escalator. And then when somebody stopped them for a whole bunch of like pictures and stuff, yeah, you had fursuiters on the escalator having to like either back up on the stairs or having like keep stepping up. They cannot basically stop on the escalators at all.
Yeah, escalators are like the mixture of elevators and stairs. They are not fun.
and you don't get control over the movement of the
No, you do
escalators.
not.
Especially if we have the really long pile full, it can get caught in the escalator.
Yes,
fill.
even like the
As you
steps,
go back
like your
to the
feet
floor.
are on the steps, and when the steps pull up, and you step over that super sketchy part where it's at the top or at the bottom, and then you walk off.
Then if your tail gets
The
sucked
tails, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially
Again, hold
those,
on to those tails, please.
especially those dragger tails, the long ones,
Oh, yeah,
or straight
the-
up.
Or like the
Yeah.
20-foot tail, or
Yeah, and then you get like what you mentioned with the elevator being caught, and you know.
yeah, it's basically almost the same thing. Where if basically at the very bottom or at the very top, your tail gets caught in that one little section, it will basically either pull your tail like almost completely off or rip it halfway. Sometimes I've seen people walking up the escalator at another convention with a huge tail, and it either rips their entire belt off, or sometimes the people literally have to take their belt off, or that escalator will pull you.
Yep.
That's why having a handler, just in case, hold your tail like when they're going up the escalator, hold it right behind them so it's not dragging.
Or if there's like a row of fursuits behind you, everyone grab onto their tail and elephant it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They just like flip it up that little shoulder and
Mhm.
carry
Yeah,
back
yeah.
into the front room.
Yes.
Actually, in this particular case, as a handler, at least at a convention, might even be worth telling hotel staff or whatever staff at that venue, shut the escalators off.
Yes.
Yeah.
At TFF, when we were actually in a hotel that had escalators, about 10 minutes into the convention, those things were shut off.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's
It eliminates the elevator section of the stairs,
well,
which helps.
a big point that can be taken for the entire concept of handling too, but it really reminded me with this, the elevators and escalators, is if anyone's ever seen anybody in normal life get like a long coat or a scarf or something caught in any kind of automatic machinery, let alone an escalator. Even escalators are kind of known for that. So basically always think about normal things that could easily apply to fursuiting.
The revolving doors.
Yes.
Oh.
I've seen that take somebody's dress off.
You've seen
Ooh,
those.
wow.
Yeah, and yeah, same thing. Keep your suitors' stuff close to you, close to each other. Hug it out. Go around.
And actually,
Escape.
on that note too, for revolving doors specifically, since some hotels might, you might come across them. Some of them go really fast, and if it's going fast and you think it's too fast for you if you're suiting, or as the handler, if you think it might be too fast for them because you know like generally how fast they move or their field of vision, it might be worth it to not even bother with the revolving doors. Because it's better to be safe than sorry.
Most of them do. Some of them do stop. If somebody stops, you can be like, "Hey, go in front, stop right there. Let us get in. And we'll go on our merry way." So yeah, just communication. And like even if like your suitor or you're being a suitor or you're being a handler, if you don't think this will happen to you, it will. It's happened to me, and I'm like, no. And like I'm usually careful, and like my tail got caught in an elevator. So that was fun. Anything else adding to environments? Any questions at all? Any scenarios you can throw our way? No? All right.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Because you can be out in the environment. What happens, how do you deal with the suits they get exposed to? Like, say you just accidentally get hit with a big puff of cigar smoke or something like that. What is the best way to deal with that?
Turn the suitor the other way, move them away. If it's like if I have trouble with smoke, if they have a fan, have them blow it some way so that it can maybe blow out, or like have them breathe out. Because again, it's just pretty much stagnant air in that head. And usually they're pretty form-fitting. So just tell them to breathe out, move them away. If they still have trouble, take them out somewhere and have them take their head off.
Move upwind at least.
Yes. Yeah, if anything gets serious or like if they can't handle it or something, have them take their head off. Like even if you're like, oh, if they're having a great time, be like, no, come on, take your head off. Usually there's a place you can hide, even if it's behind a tree, or if you don't care, you can just take your head off, scar the children for life, whatever you feel like doing.
And I actually do have something else to add for environment, which is a surprisingly kind of not thought of one, is fire.
Oh yeah.
Any source of ignition, I don't like for me personally, I don't care how far away it is from me. If you think it's safe, give it just a little bit more. Because for me, especially with my long wings, I would much rather be safe than sorry, especially because some of our suits take a long time to get in and out of, and you do not want to have to worry about that when you're lit up.
And like fur melts very easily. That's why everything says don't put fur in the dryer.
Yeah, check out Odomorph's channel. He bought his old fursuit. That thing is gone in like 2 minutes just about.
Yeah,
Completely
yeah, and
gone.
like even shipping a package, I shipped out a pair of paws and they melted. And that was just shipping. It was mid temperatures here for summer. It was like about 80-ish or so, and they melted still. So they melt very easily, especially like luxury shag, which is the common fur. It's very dense in terms of the thickness of the fur. However, it is very thin strands. Those go up very
Oh, that
quickly.
might.
Yes.
Do not leave your car, your fursuit, in a hot car.
Mm-hmm.
Your face will literally melt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have like a goop on the
Anything
floor.
that has
and
hot
this isn't
glue,
good.
that hot glue ain't hot, they ain't holding nothing no more, because it'll melt, and like, next thing you know, your face just slid off.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, like if your fursuiter isn't really keeping track, or like if you see like they left a paw in somewhere that should be getting warm, take it. Yeah, anything else about environments?
Yeah, I just wanted
Yes.
to add to this because there is actually a convention I go to every year. It's a camping convention. So yes, there is a campfire, and at that one, pretty much everyone is keeping an eye on the fursuiters, going, no, 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 you are way too close. You need to back up.
And like fire, if there's air in the wood, it goes floop, sparks fly, some of them land on you, and then
And not to add another last minute thing, but another interesting thing to think about is that partials require just as much attention as a full suit, because for the most part, the common factor is always going to be that head.
mhm.
So I don't care if you just have paws, not even arm sleeves. Even if you just have paws, it's still possible that, like with the fire, you might not notice that your hand is that close to the fire, but you're about to if you don't have someone to tell you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and also like, yeah, you have something?
Yes, because nobody wants to see a big, flaming, fluffy suit.
Boys can play,
Kinda
but they
cool.
can't be on fire.
Right. And also to add on to that, also, I think, I'm not sure exactly the percentage, but I know heat usually escapes from your head and your feet. So if you have a head on, there's that, and then if you have feet on, there's that too. So basically you have about the same amount of body heat you're dealing with. And also depending on like me, I don't get any air through this. I have another shirt underneath. However, a full suit, you do get airflow through there, even if it's a little bit. So depending on what the person's wearing too, if they're like partialing it out or anything, also they might not get any airflow in their torso area, either or their legs.
And actually, an
Yes.
additional note,
Mhm.
going off of what yours was, and actually it goes back to the like coolant systems and stuff. One that I've noticed people talk about from time to time, but I personally haven't seen that much of, is the neck coolants.
Yeah.
Because a lot of your heat does come out from the neck as well. You mentioned the head specifically, a lot of it is the neck. So that's a really quick way as a handler to prevent, or even if your suitor is already in trouble in any way really, getting some kind of coolant system on that neck is going to really, really help.
Yes.
I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but do not be on your phone or whatever while you're handling.
Mhm.
Because
Definitely.
you can be doing this, and then all of a sudden, yeah, flaming fur is really neat. You're not going to win $10,000.
Yeah.
There's a human being in there that's going to fight.
Yeah, you're basically their on-call medic too.
Yeah.
So yeah, hear everything. Don't be distracted.
The only time you pull out your phone is like to call 911.
Yeah. Or if they're like, hey, can you take a picture? That's cool. Because you're still looking at them. Yes. Put it back away.
I
Yes.
have seen people try to handle it during this shit.
It's like, oh my God, stop. But yeah, anything else on that?
Consider your fursuiter a toddler.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, you're watching over a big toddler, like it's your child, basically. Would you want your child, basically, to go off and
Depending on who you ask.
Catch on fire?
Well, that is true. It all depends on who you ask about that. Because I have seen a lot of them, especially not even if they're a fursuiter, they just leave their children.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, look, now their child's like,
A little extra effort in the short term is going to be a lot better than a ruined suit or medical bills in the long term.
yes.
Medical bills are
Don't
expensive.
chicken suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Aw.
don't.
Yeah.
Yes, because nobody wants to take a really expensive ride in the Ravenmobile.
All right. So another thing, hand signals, and also going into hearing too. So fursuits do block a little bit of sound depending on the suit maker, the suit, how thick the padding is over the ears, how any other openings or vents are positioned. So hand signals are important. So usually a good rule of thumb, like, are you okay? You're fine. If you're not okay, or you can shake your head, nod your head, go from there. Another hand signal, like if there's a lot of people around, a lot of suitors, probably if they know, stop. And this comes into account Calun. He looks adorable when he crosses his arms, because he's a bat. So then that's where you have to communicate with your handler, and communicate with your fursuiter, being like, hey, if something's going bad, what do you want to do? And you could like maybe flap your wings like because it hurts for you to flap your wings. You won't need to do it unless you do it.
Or kind of like, was it the airport landing?
Yes.
Custom signals. And actually, that is a really good note though. And both of us are trained divers. But one of the things that we learned in diving training is that you have your base set of hand signals, but making up your own that you're comfortable with your partner is a good idea as well. And
Make
that
sure they
definitely-
aren't too similar, or they could be misinterpreted.
Yeah, but for
Like
things
like in a fursuit, I wouldn't do this to be good because it's poofy. Sometimes it might look like this. Sometimes it might look like this, but sometimes it might look like this. So like a thumbs up is usually pretty good, or nodding your head,
Well,
and then you don't have to talk.
Not specifically what I was more implying is just making sure, not similarities to those signals, but just making sure that you guys have a definitive understanding of what your signals are. Because if your signals are the same as any other fursuiters, that's actually in a lot of ways better, because then other people will understand, okay, this person's in trouble, it's clear for a little bit or something like that. But like you said, with the wings it can cause trouble, so maybe I'll have to like point them forward or something, or yeah, anything like that.
This is wise.
But yeah, so communication, those are generally universal pretty much throughout the board for hand signals. But again, talk to people. Like if they're waving their arms or something, that usually means to get their attention, but it could also mean like, I am dying. Also, this means I am dying. Please help. Send
And
help.
this means
Away.
I need something
Yes,
to
you need
drink.
water. Yes.
Water now.
Water.
And-
Especially for if you're a handler and you're helping somebody basically get up to their room, because some furs I noticed they don't like going to the headless lounge, so they would rather go to their rooms. So they would have to take the elevator, and I see a lot of these people coming around and like they're wanting a picture, and their handler would have to basically either tell them or basically deny them of the picture.
And that also goes into talking to your suitor, checking in with them. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, of course, even though they're like dying on the inside, they need food, they're shaking. Because it's fun and it's a quick thing. But if that keeps piling up, you might have a passed out person on the floor. So
Passed
just
out unresponsive fursuiter. It
Yeah.
may look cute because he's on the ground. Oh, and then somebody might actually check on him. It's like, hey, you all right?
Mhm.
Oh, he's not responsive.
And
people like
also,
took 30 pictures of him.
first aid wise, people will cut out the suit to get to the person.
Paramedics do not care how much it
They
costs.
do not. They
Your
will
job
cut
is to
that
save
fur
your
through with
life.
scissors or
They
rip it
will
open, get to
cut
your
you
body.
out your seat.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
again, if you want to take care of your suit that you spent money on or time on, check yourself and check your suitor. If you're being the handler, check your suitor. Please communicate.
Yeah, if you're a suit and you're worried about burning magic, getting cut out of your suit, We'll definitely be rooting for that.
Oh yeah, you're gonna scar a child for life if there's somebody who has to come in and actually cut you out of your suit. Yeah, the child's gonna just be watching there. Is gonna go. Yeah, this big fluffy character is now being cut open.
Yes.
I was going to say, kind of as FYI, people aren't suiting. Generally speaking, if you've got a fursuiter anywhere near the bank of elevators, consider that time done.
Yeah.
They're not wanting to take a picture with you, even if you aren't their handler or you just happen to know that they're exhausted. Say something to people that are coming up that want to take a picture. A lot of people are okay with letting them know, hey, we're.
Yeah, and also, like if you see a suitor sitting on the couch, like so, they could be fine, they could not be. Tap their shoulder, are you all right? Or if they don't respond, hey, you all right? Hey, slap their face, they don't respond, rip that head off, doesn't matter, they could not be there.
When the girl strapped on, we like, this guy.
Yeah, or like tell somebody, like, I'm CPR and first aid certified, so I have to be a primary responder. It's like I tell somebody, hey, go get a stop person, call emergency. This guy is not doing great.
He is not responsive. He's going to have to
Or
take
he's
the entire suit
breathing,
off.
like he's breathing. Even if you see somebody breathing, they could not be good in the head. So just check them. It's weird to walk up to a stranger and tap them on the shoulder, but hey.
It's always better to help. And kind of like what you mentioned about cutting out those expensive suits, it might be better in the long run, and they might, even if they get upset at somebody, touching them while they're unresponsive or something, if you're doing it for their benefit, ultimately they're hopefully going to realize that A, you help their health and save their life potentially, and B, you also save them from having to pay for another $1,500 suit.
Because you know how to take them.
$1,500? That's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone have any comments about, going back to like hand signals, dealing with emergencies, that kind of thing? Nope. All right. Yeah, we're almost done. This is perfect time.
Oh, one
Yeah.
other for hand signal. All the ones that what's the locals around here do is like, if they do this measure, like, I need a paper plate to pop my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But yeah, and usually they're all pretty easy to interpret, but again, if you have that knowledge ahead of time, helps. So this is just a general thing for random things, other considerations. So like wings. Some people have wings on their back. They expand their space about 6 feet. You're gonna rack into people's heads all the time if you turn around. What you gonna do? Crowd control? Anyone else have anything else that you can think of that you might help with a suitor with wings?
Actually, not to
Just ask the audience.
I was going to say that I didn't know what you were saying.
Okay. So like crowd control is the main thing. If you have a suitor that has wings or a very large tail, what's another thing you can do?
Yell, make a hole.
Right.
Make some room.
What we did on the ship.
Yes. Another thing to do is directing that suitor. Like if they need to turn around, walk them forward a little bit. If there's a space, have them turn around. Beep, beep. Do that.
Sidestepping can help sometimes, but it just gets very exhausting and trip real easy.
Yeah.
Especially when you got the big feet and you're going to try and sidestep. Especially with some of the suits that I've been seeing now, where basically they have their suit, it comes down to about like their knees is where their crotch area is at. So watching them try and sidestep, that's going to be funny.
Humongous padding hobble walk. Walk like a corgi.
You're going to be more like a waddle.
Right. Penguin. So yeah, also going back to tails, again, floor dragger tails are a pain in the butt. I have a floor dragger tail. They get dirty very easily. You can get sleeves for them. But again, they get caught in everything. And people step on them, even if it's accidentally. They're walking behind them or like they're weaving through, they step on the tail, that belt loop pulls, and they're like, oh my gosh. So just making sure, like maybe walking behind them, being that person that's behind them, keeping track of their tail, or if they don't want to carry it, or if they can't, depending on how it's padded, like just walk behind them, make sure nobody comes between you guys, or prevent that as much as you can.
Now, mind me, if you got a tail like, well, I've seen some really big husky tails. Please be mindful of what's around you if you need to turn around.
Yeah.
You don't want to go knocking $2,000 off a dealer's den table.
Yeah, and going against like the straight back tails, like some of those raptor tails too,
Dealer's
same
soda
thing.
Onto the hulk as you turn around.
Yeah, so yeah, same thing, just mindful of the tails. Like Calun has a little bobtail, so he's fine usually, but still protrudes out. Maybe he's not aware of the space that he's in.
I have another kind of thing to talk about, is horns and antlers, that kind of thing. A big thing is knowing your suitor's suit, basically. It'll help if you need to get it off in an emergency, but another thing is even if you're just helping them, even if you're just handing it to them to put on. Some horns will be very, very secure. Yours are pretty secure for Sequana.
And their foam, they can be
and
bent
their
around,
foam.
I don't care. As long as they work, they're fine.
I personally also have an Azrael Dreamer partial that I made using Dream Vision creation bases. I use knee epoxy for those horns. They're not coming off. So, if any one of you were to basically be with me as a handler or friend or whatever, I'd be totally cool with you guys using the horns. I'd like to hold on to it or hand it over or whatever. But some people might have ones that are weaker and they are not going to be okay with that.
And also more rigid horns do have an easier time breaking than foam horns. So also just depending, like they might chip off on the ends, like if they run into or if they're high like that ridiculously tall deer.
Yeah, I was about to mention him. Yeah, he has to literally watch almost any small areas, especially around the doors, because if he doesn't, he could end up probably...
And we don't know how his horns are attached. So,
yeah, so they could probably pop off real easy.
Or worse, knock them over entirely.
But yeah, if they're like really firmly attached to his head, if he's not being mindful, or his handler that I've seen walking around with him is not being mindful of the doors, he could take one good knock in the head, his head could come off, or not like his actual head, his fursuit head could come off, or it could knock him over completely, and you could have like a small child behind him, and just watching a big, huge old deer land on a child. Just be mindful of how tall they are, and
that goes
make
with
sure.
ears too. Watch those ears.
Like
Some
Majura.
ears- yeah.
He has to duck indoors.
Yeah, like Calun's ears are more out to the side. He can still whack people in the face if he turns. Sequana's ears are nice and laid back. They don't do anything. Nori's ears are wide fennec fox ears. They have whacked people in the face, and I have apologized profusely in her talk. But still,
Yeah, I know
if I had a
firsthand of that.
handler, that might not have happened. So yeah, just be mindful of their space. They might not know their space.
Yeah, I know firsthand of that. It was NDK last year. You smacked me in the face.
I know, but you also smacked me in the face. So.
Well, that was an accident. I didn't
Sure.
mean for that. You turned, and I accidentally just smacked you.
I understand whatever you say.
Oh, I see.
So we have about 4 minutes left. That filled up a lot of time. Anyone having like questions, comments, like situations you want to throw at us? Yes.
I just have a comment.
Mhm.
As I was coming back here, I saw this like huge bunny thing, like big. He was walking underneath like a doorway, I guess, and he like stumbled back. So what you guys are saying about that is pretty true.
Yeah. Was he the black and white one?
Huh?
Was he the black and white one?
He's red and
Okay.
Oh,
Oh yes, he is.
I see him.
Oh, monkey buns.
Yes. Anybody else have anything? Yes.
There are some cocky fursuiters out there. I've encountered some that they think they can do it all and, just be permeable. And I've seen a couple almost walk out into traffic, and it's one of those where you have to catch them and say, no, there's a semi there and it's bigger than you are.
Yeah.
And actually, that's important to remember too, as a suitor and a handler, because in situations like that, you can put yourself at risk, but especially with traffic, for example, you're putting more than just yourself at risk. So when it comes to safety, don't ever think of it as just yourself or your suitor, because you also are, I mean, like you said, you don't want a 7-foot tall deer to fall down on your, 2-year-old cousin. So it's, being mindful of everyone else for the sake of everyone else as well as yourself.
And you don't want a van to run full of kids to run over, a deer, that'll kill the kids.
Oh yeah.
Or worse, swerve into not another lane to avoid hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
We cause a huge 5-car pileup, and you're like, ooh, fuck with
Yeah, that huge 5-car pileup, that was because you didn't pay
Explosives
attention.
happen behind you, small
I caused a
you don't even
5-car
know what
pileup.
happened.
I could have killed somebody.
I caused a 5-car pileup, but hey, I got that print I wanted. Not worth it.
Depending on who you ask again.
And if you cause trouble like that, the con might not even, they might basically ban you. Because if they see you as a risk that's going to be a risk to yourself and other people, they might not want you around anymore. So it's definitely for everybody's benefit.
Be responsible, be a leader.
Everyone's got to be a leader in their son.
Yes.
So I'm new to the whole fur thing. And
Welcome.
I'm used to doing other things like medieval recreation and such as a handler for that kind of thing. So a lot of this still applies and I'm very confused.
Yeah.
But
All across the board.
in those cases, they have designated people as entourage or court or whatever. So is there, are you only a handler for your friends, or if you're just a freelancer, if you just happen to see something, or is
That
there a way
is
to go
very,
help?
it's very
That-
situational. There's a local, meetups or something. Usually you're pretty much in charge of, a few people. And this is just in general, you have a couple of handlers, a couple of fursuiters, you guys just sort of link all together. If you're with a friend, that's awesome because you have one-on-one stuff. But usually you're also, looking out. There's a few suitors around here that do not have a handler. You could just, keep your eye on them for a little bit as, they're walking across to the Headless Lounge or walking into a panel.
Yeah, that's what I was
something
going to
like that.
mention too. Because I've seen some people that are walking around and they're only focused on their one handler,
Which
the
is
one,
good, but...
the one person that they're supposed to be watching, which is good and all. But if you do help out some other fursuiters that don't have a handler, that's fine too, because a lot of them don't normally do that. But if you're just watching them just in case, that is you could have saved their lives, or you could help them out from paying a really expensive medical bill, or even if they might lose something, run over and grab it from them and bring it to them. But always keep in mind, tell your main handler, hey, I'm gonna go do something real quick. Don't move from this spot. That is a great thing to do.
Yeah, and also just in general too, just keeping an eye on everyone. Depending on where you go too, they might have specific handlers for specific fursuiters, depending again how organized it is. Most of them is just a ragtag group of people. And then you kind of just take initiative upon yourself and just keep an eye out for as many people as you can. But again, just keep track of.
And a lot of the local meets, especially outdoors ones or ones that are on public, it's basically an unwritten rule that if you're in suit,
You're on
anyone
next to
who's
the
out
handler.
of suit is basically, if you're not in suit, it's kind of just universally agreed on, even though it's unspoken.
Yeah.
That if you're out of suit, you're looking out for any of the suit.
Yeah.
If some people,
Because
sorry.
Did you have your hand up?
I did, but
Hey, you had the same question.
Yeah.
Or the same comment.
Yeah, so I want
it's
to,
going to be kind of similar. I was going to say that I follow up on that. I've been to meets as well. That is kind of the unspoken rule, but
Some people bring coolers full of water,
yeah,
that sort of thing.
and everyone, we all know that the first shooter gets priority on certain things.
Right.
But I've actually been on a couple of occasions asked by fursuiters to basically spot them and be a handler for them. So sometimes it's not at all organized. Sometimes someone gets to a convention or somewhere and they're going, well, I thought I could do this, but now I'm seeing, hey, I can't do this. So sometimes people will actually ask you, if you're not in suit, can you help me out for a little bit?
yeah, some people like to have that one-on-one, but one of the biggest points is just, don't let tunnel vision get you. Because like you said, it's a lot of times you will end up kind of like, oh, I came here with my one friend, but now because this person or this person, whatever, however many people need the help, it's always better to just help.
Yeah, and don't do what I did my very first convention, RMFC. I did not have a handler. My mom dropped me off each day, and I
Spent almost $3,000 on a suit, and you only wear it so many times out of the year. Yeah, please be mindful of that.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
It's a stupid one, but I know if
No
I don't
questions are
ask, I'm
stupid
going to regret it.
questions.
In my community, I'm a pet pony handler where they're always nonverbal. They're in their creature language. Does that happen a lot in this realm?
Yes. Me personally, I talk in Sequana because she has a moving jaw. It's cool. In Nori, my large, toony, fennec fox, weird creatured suit, I do not talk. I go. I do that talk. So I do a lot more hand movements if I need something. I also do a certain walk. I stand like this when I'm in suit. If I'm upright or doing something like that, either I'm like looking around or something, or something's up.
So is it advisable then for handlers, if you're going to be a handler and helping out a lot of different people, to learn sign language and be able to teach that?
Yeah, or just learning like the universal ones, like drinking water.
Yeah.
I need to take off my head, or like fanning yourself, trying to rush to an elevator, and a bunch of people are stopping them, like wanting to take pictures. Step in and be like, no, they look like they need to go in. Do you need to go in? Okay, let's go.
I saw that they had a sign language class yesterday, so I was curious as to whether that was very common within this community.
Yeah, I personally don't know sign language, but and also it depends on the hands too. Like, hold up your paw for a minute. You can't really see fingers very well on that.
Right, but I mean, they're the specific
Yeah,
universal
so like more like
gestures.
arm
Yeah.
language basically, or like, again, working it out with your suitor. What do you need when you need to stop? Calun will not be able to do the arm cross thing because it looks adorable. So yeah, it just depends, again, talking with your suitor, or like tapping, like if you're just passing by, like tapping you like, hey, you're all right? Or if they shake their head, figure out what's up. So yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of people who don't talk in suit, or they limit their talking, just because it's like, I'm a little stuffed animal.
Yeah, there's a plentiful amount of people who talk in their suits, and that's all right. And then there's the other side of the ones who don't talk at all, and they gotta have all types of like signals and all this type of stuff just in case they like need to get somewhere, like to the headless lounge or something. They need to have like that certain type of sign language to like saying, hey, I'm hot, I gotta get to the headless lounge basically. And then there's ones like telephone and yours, where they can make like a squeaking noise or some type of that, where sometimes where I noticed with telephone, she can actually squeak a little bit to like make the word sounds, like she needs to get to like the headless lounge or up to her room or something like that. Yes, and you have also reminded me of something. If you're a fursuit handler or a fursuiter, please know your limits. Do not do anything extra, because I have seen a fursuit that was in the dance last night. She accidentally tore her paw because she tried to do a handstand in the middle of the dance, and she almost lost an entire paw. And that can happen with almost anything. Just be mindful.
Again, going back, if you don't think it'll happen to you, it can happen still.
I mean, it can even happen if you're not in suit.
Right now. And also, as a handler, make sure you know your limits. I have a bad hip, so I can't walk around too often. So I have to take sit-down breaks often. So just let your suitor know too, like, hey, let's go sit down for a bit, both for their benefit, because they're most likely melting in there, because you melt regardless, and also for your benefit as well, because then you can continue that service to your fursuiter, and just keep tabs on you too, but of course making sure your suitor is all right, but like check yourself too. like, hey, I'm feeling a bit lightheaded, I have a bit of a headache, take some ibuprofen, take a breather.
Yeah, basically it always comes back down to communication and understanding.
Yes.
I don't know if this is universal advice, but I have noticed that some of the suitors that are nonverbal, if you really, really do need to communicate with them, it's better to get basically, put your paw or your ear almost up to their muzzle, and if they will talk to you, they can at least do it where it's still not quite breaking the magic. They can still communicate, hey, I need this. I know maybe you don't recognize this, but this is what I need. Can you get that for me? And you're at least kind of meeting them halfway. If they don't, they're normally not verbal.
Yeah.
All right.
And like when,
Okay.
and like when we were shooting a little bit ago, I talk into Calun's eye because it's easier for him to hear me. And then
Nice, like here.
Yes. All
So
you have
you
to do is
can-
literally just bend down like slightly, and then
and
you
because
can talk
he's
to his eye.
ridiculously tall, so he has to like bend down and I have to like follow my tiptoes like, hey,
You're just short.
I'm not, you are tall.
I'm only like 6 feet.
That's tall.
If you're taller than me by even an inch, you're tall. Doesn't
How
matter.
are you?
I'm like 6'6". I'm like 5'6".
I'm 5'2".
I know.
Rude. Okay,
You
yeah,
are really
we are
short.
like 10 minutes over our time.
Well, I don't see the next panel guy.
They
here,
aren't here
so-
until about
Nobody
half
told
an
us
hour
not to
later.
anymore, so now we're taking over.
it's
Yeah,
ours
just
now.
do what I did.
I think it's like an 18 plus panel actually, so you should probably get out of here.
Well, there's a half-hour lag between this
Yeah.
one and the next one.
Yeah, which is pleasant. Yeah,
Okay,
it looks
I'll-
like it's 18 plus.
Yeah.
This is the cool kids club, so.
Yeah. We just like hang out here.
Listen
How
to
you doing?
sounds come out of our mouths. But yeah, anyone have any enlightening words of wisdom or?
Oh, and
Yes.
I've noticed this. A lot of the people who have been handling suits, I've watched a lot of these suits go around for about 5 hours, and they have not eaten anything at all for that 5 hours in the suit.
Guilty.
Hey,
Same.
So please be mindful of what Uncle Samuel Conway has come up with Two Griffin, the 6-2-1 rule.
and 8 rule.
And eight.
8 cups of water too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, 6-2-1-8 is basically 6 hours of sleep, 2 meals a day. Yes, please do more. 1 shower. Please
If
do
you're
more.
falsetto, before they want it on shelf.
Take like 5 showers. And then at least 8 cups of water a day. Or that's the equivalent to, I believe, what's 8 times 8? I can't do math.
64.
Yes, so that's about, yeah, and that's about like 2 or 3 of those
Yeah.
shorter water bottles.
Yeah, depending
Yes.
on what size.
Just something that is, I've noticed this year, a lot of fursuits will be walking down the hall, in the narrow hall, somebody stops them to talk and stuff, they're just jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
If you're a handler, pull them over. If you're not a handler, nicely say, please scoot over. Because, you get these blobs and maybe some other suit's trying to get to the handler's lounge or to the bathroom and there's a knot of her.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened just out here yesterday. When Majura walked down the hallway, it was all clogged up. It was like not even 2 feet from the door.
But Joe has a power to cause a traffic jam.
Yes, all the security people just walked over and it was, Majura caused a traffic jam. Please move on.
What did we say about traffic?
Majura, what did we tell you about this?
The announcers has kind of been driving me nuts because, everybody just stops where they are and starts talking.
Yes.
When you ask them to move, they kind of go, oh.
And like with
It's like,
Calun,
really?
I
Why?
led the way with
Get out of
Calun.
there,
I
I'll
let
pee in
him.
your shoe. That kind of-
It's like, really? I'm more important than you. Why did you tell me to move? How dare you?
Yeah,
It's
that's-
like you're causing a traffic jam. Look at the line. It's like backed up all the way to the dealer's den. Jeez.
Yeah, that's one of those
I'll
things.
pee in your shoe.
That's one of those things that happens in real life, like away from the fursuiting, that would be as bad, if not worse, than fursuiting. That happens on the street and you get irritated. It's going to be a lot worse when the hallway is as thin as it is here.
Yeah, especially like in airports. I've been in one like not even 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Everybody clogging up one area, especially near the bathrooms. We gotta
We're
get.
like 15
All right.
minutes
Yeah,
over
we're
time, so.
well over, so now
Yeah.
we're going to
Yeah,
get
we
going.
should probably get out of here.
Thanks for
Hope
coming
you had a
by.
good
Yes,
panel.
thanks for coming in, and have any questions, come on to us. We
Thanks
can
for
talk
sharing.
and that kind of thing. He likes talking.